Hello, people of YouTube. This is Indiana Pepsi. I went and did something that I swore I wasn't going to do in like my last video that I put up, but I went and did it anyway, and that was I bought this. Right. Well, anyway, it's the premium edition. The content of it is not great. The book, hardcover creator's guide. No, it's not. It's really not. It's a wee small book with about 10 pages that says if you want to build your building, put a wall here, and then put a wall here, and then put a wee bed inside, and basically that's the extent of the tips. And just like, of course, The Sims 3 did and The Sims 2 did, it goes back over the history of previous games. Anyway, we'll get the negative stuff out of the way first. I might actually have a smoke during this one because it's a bit frustrating. But anyway, yeah, negative stuff. The no open world actually impacts a lot worse than what you would think it's gonna. It's not only back to Sims 2 that way, but I think it's even further back because visiting people's houses and stuff has become a pain. Now, I've got a decent sized machine, so the loading screens are pretty much only a few seconds each. That's not a problem. You know, other negative things that people were pissing and moaning about, even me, I'm not going to stand there and say that it wasn't, because it did piss and moan about things like pools and stuff. It's not really an issue. I haven't sat there saying to myself, I can't build a pool. You know, I haven't. It hasn't really bothered me at all. So, but anyway, the open world thing, that's a really big negative, because when it basically loads up the game, whichever neighborhood you pick to move into first, because you can change in between the neighborhoods. You've got basically about 10 to 15 houses in each like little town, and then you've got like a couple of bars, a bar, a nightclub, and a gym, and what have you. Not bad. Except it's like you can switch between the towns, so you can go from town to town, and both towns are relatively the same, except one's in like a desert and one's in more of a tropical type climate. And when you load in the game at first, I picked a house, went in, and then I went into the options and clicked the button fill empty houses. This is actually quite a good feature, but because it's got to do with what I'm talking about now, I'll talk about it. And what it does is it fills up all the empty other houses. So, you know, you've got a lot of people around you. It puts in, you know, just random families and some single people. But I noticed a video that I watched about 2 days ago, 3 days ago about it, and the guy was completely right. From then on in, nobody moves in, nobody moves out. The problem with this is everywhere you go, you're seeing the same people 100% of the time. They seem to be going about their lives, but I mean, you go to a bar in Willow Creek. I can't remember the other name of the other town. I just was playing it 5 seconds ago, and I'm living in the other town. But anyway, you go to the bar, and there'll be, you know, because I've clicked fill up the other lots, there's quite a lot of people around. But when you go to back to the other town and go to the gym, all those people will now appear at the gym working out, and it's, you know, everywhere you go, they're there. It also hinders relationships because I've become friendly with a girl in there, a ginger bap. I don't mind redheads, they're pretty hot, but anyway. Got the 2-bar thing, that's actually pretty cool. It'll actually be even more cooler if you get the friend bar up too quick, perhaps, and you get the friend zone thing happening, so you can't ever get the romantic bar up anymore. I don't think that's in the game, but that would have been a sweet touch. You know, it would actually been the whole point, if you ask me, to having the friend bar and the love bar. But anyway, I don't think that's a feature of the game. Maybe not yet, anyway. But you phone her on the phone, obviously. Which another annoying subject comes up in a minute. The phone can't take pictures, like it could in the Sims 3. You could click in and you could take a picture. But you ask her any time of day. I've tried this about 6 times in one day, at different parts of the day, and it always comes back she can't have a hangout because she's busy. The next day I did it a couple of times and got the same thing. And I thought, bugger this, I'll go to the bar, see if I can meet another girl. I went to the bar. Lo and behold, there's the redhead at the bar by herself, knocking back drinks. But she was telling me on the phone she was busy and she couldn't come for a hangout. You know, so this is where this kind of non-open world thing is interfering. In the Sims 3 in the open world, when they were saying they were busy, it was usually because they were at work or they were doing some kind of task that they couldn't leave, and you could actually go certain places and you wouldn't see them. Or you could go to their house and knock on the door and it would say this person's not there because they're away doing something or they're busy. But it's not happening in this one because they're being pre-generated every time you go through a loading screen, load up, and so it doesn't matter. I was actually chatting to her one day on the internet, on the wee computer thing you get. You're sitting, and you're chatting to her and you're laughing and you're getting the little plus sign floating up because you're chatting to her. And I phoned her and asked her to come for a hangout, and she said she was busy. And after I hung up the phone, he went, a wee bit, and got a wee bit sad because she didn't come over, and then carried on chatting to her, getting the plus signs, and he was still chatting to her, and the little friend line was still going up. But she was chatting with my little sim, and because of the chat she was having with my little sim, it meant she was too busy to come around to my house to have a hangout with my little sim. So it's a bit weird because now it's like we executable things, and when you start doing little tasks like that, they're busy. Whereas in the Sims 3 it wasn't like that because it was one big thing that controlled everything. Then what happened basically was, if I had done that in the Sims 3, she would have immediately said, hell yeah, I'll stop chatting on the keyboard and come round to see you. You know, maybe even give you a woohoo. But anyway, it's a bit niggly, but it's not like it's gonna, break your heart. But the open world thing, without that, it does seem a bit. It seems a bit bland, and the world seems a bit empty. Because everywhere you go, there's just an abundance of the same people every day. I live in a smallish town. There's only about 60, 70,000 people live here. And as towns go really throughout the world, when you look at the size of London and New York and stuff, it's a pretty small town. Not far off being a village. But, yeah, it's, you don't see the same people over and over again in this town. There's always somebody new you've never seen before floating about. But the way they did, the Sims 3 did have one big problem, but that was fixed towards the end in one of the last 3 or 4, I think, maybe expansion packs. And that was the fact that I had some problems. Either it might have been that or it might have been a patch. But several times I would make up a family, and it happened in 2 or 3 different ones, but it was mainly the starter village, starter town, which I can't even remember the name of it. It happened to me once in the nighttime village, the nightlife village downtown as well in the city, and that was everybody just buggered off and moved out, and so you ended up, having nobody. And that was problematic, but it was fixed to where people would if somebody moved out, almost straight away another family would move in. Done that way. But anyway, yeah. And another feature of The Sims, which is a very big negative, I thought it was going to be class. In theory, it's brilliant. But if you're looking to build a relationship, it's terrible. and that is the fact: if you go into a packed out bar or lounge or gym, and you try and talk to a girl or even a boy, you know, to get your relationship status built up, if you want to get to work or anything, which we'll get to in a minute, it's impossible. You know, it's like that old Heart song that they made, "How do I get you alone?" Because you start talking to them and the three other people come over and join in the conversation, and you're not talking to that person anymore. You're having a three-way chat about complete bollocks. And the amount of time that you tend to be talking to everybody else and making friends with everybody else in the conversation except for the person you're really trying to make friends with. And especially if it's a romantic relationship you're trying to build up. And so you really can't do it anyway. It doesn't really help at all. You end up having to go home, and then you try and call them to bring them over. They're too busy for a hangout. The one time I got her back to my house, that sounds really seedy, but the one time I did get the girl back to my house was the fact that I was in one of the lounges, and I said travel with, and I was able to click on her, and she automatically dropped what she was doing and came with me. And that's the only way you can get her back, but that's a hassle. You can't just phone her up anymore and say come on round to the house, because she's not showing up. She's always too busy to come to the house. So that means I've got to load in the bar, go and find her, click travel with, and then load it back into my place and bring her in. And she only ever stays there for a couple of hours, even if her needs are pretty high. Excuse me. She seems to stay there. I mean, before they would stay there all night. As long as their needs were kept high, they would stay there all night. But the second one of their needs went down, they'd go, 2 o'clock in the morning, it's awful late, I better get home. But now, for some reason, they stay there only a set amount of time. There was once I got her to come back, and she was literally only in there for an hour, which is about a minute and then she left. And I got to say, come on into the house. And she came in, and I said flirt thing to her, and then she turned around and walked off, and you can't catch up with her. To distract her from leaving and try and talk to her, she goes unclickable, so you can't do anything. So the chat amongst your friends is good in theory, but it's really not. If you even click it and turn it off and stop doing the chat with the friends and then try and concentrate on her again, they'll just join back into the chat. And more often than not, when you're in the middle of the chat, she gets up and buggers off, and it's just you and 4 guys in a sausage fest, and you're sitting trying to click it off so you can chase after her. By the time you get after her, she's buggered off back home. Work. It's considerably easy. Well, the job, the career I picked, and the path I picked was very, very easy. I picked the writing career, and it's incessantly easy. All you have to do is read 2 or 3 books a day, and write, and that's it. You don't have to have any friends at all. I've only had the game for about 3 days now, 4 days, and I am at level 9, bestseller or something like that it's called. But you have these little bars, by the way, spoiler alerts, but you have these little bars. Bit late for that, but you have these little bars you have to fulfill, read 2 books a day or write 2 books a day or whatever, and publish a book or self-publish a book or send it off to the library thing, which you can only do once a week, which is a pain in the bum. That's the only promotion from 9 to 10 that makes it difficult, because you've got to do that twice and you can only do it once a week, so you've got to wait 2 same weeks. But it's still, my job performance is still right up there, and you read, as long as you get those gold bars fulfilled, it doesn't matter what you do. Traits don't matter worth a dick, they really don't. I've got 2 games going. One is only an experimental game, and one is the game I'm playing. The game I'm playing, I've got a creative sim who's a music lover and a bookie type reader. So he's got pretty much the traits you need to be a writer. and he's brilliant. But the other one, I give him the sloppy trait and the silliness trait, where he's always going blah, blah, blah in the mirror and stuff. And I didn't even give him the right aspiration. I gave him aspiration to be an astronaut or some bollocks. And he is still progressing at the same speed as the other one. He still writes, he still does everything he's told. And he's at level 9. I actually think he was at level 9 a little bit quicker than my actual sim, who's got the supposed proper traits to be a writer. But anyway, the traits are really for autonomy. Dropped a bit of chocolate on my pants. Bastard. Anyway, for autonomy. So it's like if you put that on full, which there is only off and full. Why full? Why was it just not on and off? Because you can't put it on a wee bit, or on medium, or on full. It's just off or full. But that's what it's for. That's the only thing the traits are for. Is if you just kick back and relax with your arms in the air and let the Sims do whatever he wants. And he'll do it. If you have it on full and you kick back and relax, your Sim will take care of himself. You can bugger off outside and leave him. If it comes time to go to work, he'll stop going to playing the computer or playing the guitar, and he'll go to work. The autonomy is a lot better than what it has been in any previous game I've seen it in. But that's really the only thing the traits are for, is because then when your Sim engages in a conversation with somebody by himself, then the conversation he automatically engages in will be whatever his traits are. If he's a good person, he'll only say good things like brightening people's days and stuff. If he's a flirtatious Sim, he'll keep on trying to get into girls' pants all the time. And that's the only thing the traits are for. So you can effectively get a really horrible Sim and make him the most amazing person in the world and still make everyone love him if you've got the autonomy turned off, like I always do. Which makes no sense at all. It really doesn't. Because I think the conversational pieces don't rely on the traits anymore. They rely on your mood, because you've got these different moods, like flirtatious and inspired and uncomfortable, and that's when I think the conversational things change around rather than to do with your traits. Maybe there's one or two little extra options with your traits, but I don't think there's that much. I think it relies more on the mood you're in as to how flirty or how good you can be or how mean you can be. So really the traits don't matter. You can put anything anywhere you want and still make that person be the totally opposite by telling them what to do yourself. And the autonomy thing is a bit of a pain in the bum, because it's so good. Even if he needs to piss a wee bit, for some reason the wee Sim I made doesn't like being, even at a quarter full bladder. He'll go and he'll have a piss, and it's like, what? You're not even half fucking full yet, dude, and you're going for a piss. And he doesn't even have the handiness trait, but yet he likes to upgrade. If I leave him by himself, I put autonomy on and leave him by himself, he goes around, because when you break something, you can rummage through it for parts, and you have loads of parts. I've got about hundreds of parts, and he goes around the house for no reason whatsoever. He's only a level 2 handyman and doesn't have the handyman trait, but he'll go around that house and he will upgrade whatever the freaking hell he can get his hands on. And he doesn't even use nuts or bolts or nothing. He just gets a wrench and spins it in thin air, nowhere near the actual fucking toilet or bath or TV, whatever he's upgrading. He'll just bring, make the toilet more powerful flush, or make the faucet stronger on the bath, whatever he does. And he enjoys doing that all day long, and he doesn't even have the handiness trait, which is another reason why the traits don't really matter, and he likes digging. What these digging things are, I have no idea. But if you have The Sims 4, I strongly advise you to be very, very careful with these diggy things. Out the back and out the front of your lot, sometimes you'll get these little things. Actually, all the time. Virtually every day, there's about 10 of them out there. If you don't dig them up, they will build up, and you'll have, your backyard looks like it has acne because it's got all these friggin' things over it. If you do dig them up, you end up with a Velociraptor friggin' claw, or a pre-sim skull, or worse yet, a broken fossil, or these wee statuey things called Jenny Award. Yay! And if you click on her, she'll make you smile 10% better, or something like that, if you put her down in the world. Or you can just sell her for a horrible price. But it makes you have to, it's really woeful, because if you're trying to get to work and then you're trying to keep your sim happy by feeding them, letting them play the computer, then writing or doing whatever your job entails at home. You've got loads of these in your garden, and half your day is taken up by digging these things up. Because you have to. At one point, you're going to have to. Otherwise, you're going to have no room to put stuff about in your backyard, because they take up a lot of room, and you can't place stuff because objects can't intersect in The Sims. We know this. It's like I can sit down in a deck chair in real life and go and just slide something underneath the deck chair, but woe betide you try and do that in The Sims, it doesn't work. You cannot put a chair on top of something, even though there's enough space in the chair here with the legs coming down for it to sit on the top. You can't do it. But these things build up like crazy if you don't dig them up, and you dig them up for the most useless crap you ever want to see in your life. There is nothing good there. There is nothing fun. You can't really use anything. It just takes up extra space in your house. So you're better off selling them. Okay, ease of rise in employment is very, very easy. Like I said, I'm a level 9 already, like a best-selling author or something. Because all you have to do is fulfill these little things, and you can do them every day, and then go. And I got promotion virtually once a day in The Sims. The Sims daytime, obviously, not my real daytime. But it's insanely easy for the writing career, and I'm getting something like 300 simoleons a day or an hour or something like that. And with the amount of books that I've written, every 2 or 3 days, I'm getting like 6 grand, 7 grand, around that. I've been playing for about 3 in-game weeks, so you do the math. I've actually already, between my job and that, I've actually already got like over 100 grand, and I was able to even move into a better house and stuff. And so making money plus any kind of reward they give you, just sell, because they're useless rewards. They don't do anything for you. You can look at put the painting on the wall, for instance. If you get a painting, look at it and get inspired, but there's lots of other things you can do to get inspired anyway, so it might be worth a grand or a couple of grand. Sell it, and you just build your money up. And it was so piss easy to make money and to get up to the job place I was at. I was very disappointed. I'm very disappointed because the jobs are still rabbit holes, pretty much. For those of you who don't know what rabbit holes is, it basically means that when it comes time to go to work, they fuck off, and you can't do anything. You're just left there until they come home. But it's even worse now, because you can't do anything. Making friends was easy in The Sims 3. Well, for instance, when they went to work, you could click socialize with co-workers, and boom, you were socializing with your co-workers and making friends. Within 3 or 4 days of doing this, you would have everybody up to very, very strong friendships and have about 6 friends. As I say, I've been going for about 3 sim weeks, and it doesn't work that way here. I socialize with friends, I do everything I can, and nothing I click on, the wee thing, seems to affect the job performance and does not make me any more friends. I think it's just something different. It doesn't matter if I work hard, doesn't matter if I slack off, my job performance doesn't seem to suffer that much. And if I pick socialize with co-workers, either my wee sim is a prick while he's at work, or the other co-workers are all pricks because they're not becoming his friends. There's no job opportunities anymore, which is very, 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 very bad. I loved doing the job opportunities, but of course without the open world it becomes impossible to put that in. So the open world has taken so many options away, which were all really fun and really cool to do. You know, you can no longer just drive to your mate's house. You cannot do any job opportunities. The jobs where you were able to go to the job, like the fireman and the ghostbuster or the tattooist. I mean, I ballsed up my first 4 tattoos when I was a tattoo artist, and the person was suing my ass and stuff. But it was so much fun to be able to go to work and watch your sim actually work and control what he does. You know, if you were a mean sim, you could actually, you know, mess up the job on purpose. You know, the architect sim, I never actually, the architect career, I never got the hang of. Somebody asked me to do him a lovely room. I did him a lovely room, which was almost perfect, and he gunned his head off at me for it. But anyway, yes, the open world being taken out has destroyed about 35 to 40% of the game. It really has hugely messed up the game. It's still fun. I'm still enjoying playing, but you will find you will end up spending a lot of time in your own house, going to work and making money. And I would suggest that after a while playing it, you're going to find yourself not even playing the game, just building yourself a couple of dream homes, and then you'll get bored of that. Because going to bars and going to the gym, honestly, fitness levels and stuff, provided you don't let your sim eat a bunch of junk food, you're not going to get fat in the game. You can just make him run it, buy a cheap treadmill and make him run on it every once in a while, and that's it. Fire doesn't appear to spray it. I left the fire in the cooker for ages by itself, and it went out by itself. My sim did get a bit scared and pee himself, but it didn't spray it to the fridge or the sideboards. So I don't know. Maybe I just got lucky, I don't know. But because you go to all the different places and it's the same people over and over again, you can't create a band, you can't create a group and do that kind of job, which was fantastic. I did that all the time because I had this class group on Sims 3 and was looking for a drummer. I didn't realise that the drummer I actually enlisted to play in my group was an old age pensioner, and I didn't realise it at the time. And like 3 days into our singing career, he died. And I was like, everyone was mourning and was sad, going, ooh, ooh, ooh. He was only a member of the band for 3 days and only did 1 gig with us. And everyone was like so much in love with him, they were mourning and crying, you know. And that was kind of, even though it's sad because the poor wee old age pensioner, I think his name was Greg or some shit. You know, but none of that's going to happen. None of that fun stuff is going to happen in Sims 4 right away. They really do need to find out some way to patch this and change, you know, re-script it or something and change it to the open world again. Either with a big massive patch or with a expansion pack, because no open world, it means that the game quality and the fun you can have with this game is very down low. A few other niggly things, but it's not too bad. There's a couple of good things. The graphics is another niggly thing. The graphics are woeful. The power of the game is woeful. I don't have a big PC. It's a decent PC. It's not big. And it's using about 9% of my resources. Basically because it's obviously a 32-bit executable. It's not a 64. And so it's not even going to use, you know, my computer is 8 gig of RAM, but 8 gig isn't even the 4 gig of that's never going to be touched. The 32 bit executable is going to take, if you can imagine a 32 gig executable, 32 bit executable basically takes the RAM, cuts it in half. I only need 4, fuck you, other 4. And that's what it does, and that's what the majority of games do anyway. Which is why people who have 16 and 32 gig machines are really silly, because you don't need that yet. You know, like 99% of games out there only use 4 gig of RAM or less. Most of them only use that. Way less. This game, I reckon, is only using about a gig and a half of RAM. Because only using 9% of my processor and my graphic card and my RAM. So, and that's on ultra high graphics. which is kind of scary. I expect, and plus it's 1 gig smaller install size than what the base game was on The Sims 3. It's a really, really poor effort on part of EA and Maxis. It's not a good game. It's not a bad game. It's okay. It's a lot better than I envisioned it being. Thank goodness, because I went ahead like a stupid head and bought it. But it's not what it could have been. Nowhere near. The open world should have been in there, and it should have been made bigger and better. The average person these days, in this day and age, has got 4 gig of RAM or more. I'd say about 35 or 40% of gamers have actually got 8 gig of RAM, and probably about 20%, maybe 30% have got 16, and about 10% have got more than that. And there's only actually about 30%, maybe 20 to 30% who have actually still only got 2 gig or 3 gig or 4 gig of RAM. So this game could have been about 50% bigger at least, and deeper, and it still would have had a heck of a lot of people playing it, and it still would have made a heck of a lot of. In fact, it would have got more people playing it, because there's people I've heard on the internet who are bugging Amazon and other places, but they bought it to take this game back and refund their money because they don't like the game because it is too small. The graphics are very, very cartoony. They are even more cartoony than The Sims 2 were. And some of the facial emotions and expressions are really weird. Create a Sim is I don't like it at all, because if you want to have somebody who's muscular, he looks like a friggin' gorilla. He really does, without hair, like a shaved gorilla. If you take all the fat off and put all the muscles up, your arms look like the way some of the characters would have done on a PlayStation 1 game, with big blocky arms. It's really horrible looking. It's not great, and you despite the slider being automatic, it's really virtually impossible to get everything in proportion with each other. If you leave it at default setting and just push the muscle slider up, it looks woeful. The hair is very shambolic. There's lots of clipping and everything. Like when he moves, if you give him remotely long hair and do this, it clips in his clothes and everything. There's no animation in the hair. The Sims 3 was a far, far better Create a Sim. The content you got for Create a Sim with this, which was Life of the Party, Up All Night, Awesome Animal Hats, was woeful. You got about 3 or 4 extra things in each one for Create a Sim itself, and they were terrible. Like most of them made like a fancy dress outfit or something, and they were just terrible. So the Create a Sim, this manipulation thing, is not that great at all. In short, for my opinion, the Create a Sim for Sims 3 was 3 times or 4 times better. I would rate this game about 4 out of 10, where I rated Sims 3 about 7.5 to 8 out of 10. There are slight advantages to having the neighborhood the way it is, but for example, in Sims 3, nothing was linked together. You couldn't get in your car and drive to, from one town to another. The way you can in this, you couldn't interact in the two different, all the different towns weren't linked together. So if you were in like Pleasant View or something and wanted to go somewhere else, you had to make a sim up, build a brand new family and put them in that town, or move them back out of the house and then move them back in and start again. You couldn't just move in 3 other towns, which would have been awesome. This one you kind of can, but I mean, if you leave your house and go to the town, your house freezes and doesn't do anything because you're not there until you click on the executable, which is basically your house, and go back there, and then time resumes like it did in The Sims 2 and The Sims 1. So traveling around and doing things is pretty not great. It's actually quite pointless. The only thing you would travel around is if you're in a job or a career where you've got to make friends. I really don't know. I don't rate it very high. For me to want to continue to play this game on a regular basis, they've got to bring creative. They've got to bring creative world. They've got to bring open world back. Open world has got to be brought back. There's no doubt about it, because without it, there's just far too many things that you can't do. You know, in The Sims 3, everybody just did their own thing. The computer controlled everybody. They got married, they got jobs, they went to work, they furnished their own homes. If you left them alone for long enough and didn't go near them, they actually did things. They autonomously did things. In this one, they don't. They do not do anything. Nothing changes. If you create Dicky Dicky or Icky Mickey, whichever one, and put him in a house and then go back to your own family, he will not do anything. He will sit in a friggin' chair like this and kick back and relax and not move unless you click on the house and you go there and you do something with him. So yeah, the open world really has to come back. I'm not sure if that's possible, but I'm sure EA is a big company. It's 2014. There's bound to be a way that they can put in, even if it's a massive patch. I don't care. I download it. But for me, the open world side of things has to come back. There's too many possibilities being missed out on. I mean, too many fun things that you were able to do before that you just can't do. The closed world like this is too restrictive and too limited, and there's just nothing you can do. You know, it means that traveling around to different places has become a bore. There's nowhere to go. The neighborhoods are tiny. Really, really tiny. There's like 5 blocks. 3 blocks, 6 blocks, sorry. 3 blocks have houses. One, and there's only about 2 houses on each fucking one. Then you have the block where the gym and the bars and all are, and there's a block in the middle that has a park, and that's it. That's the neighborhoods, or the towns, whatever you want to call them. So that there's literally nothing there. It is extremely woeful, and yeah, it needs to be repaired. Because it's just not fun. It's just not fun. What it seems to me is like they started off to build this fantastic game, and they ran into these problems like the foundation, raising and lowering the foundations for the garages and stuff. And they really couldn't be annoyed re-scripting it so as you could do them separately or whatever. So they just left it, decided to leave out cars and garages. They ran into a few problems perhaps with open world. Maybe they tried to make the neighborhoods better or link them together. But they ran into a few little problems that they really couldn't be annoyed fixing out. And the easier option and quicker option, instead of fixing it, was just to make the towns executable files the way they are now. And the game feels like that. Like they were doing something and they ran into a problem, and instead of fixing the problem, they just changed it and went the easier path. Instead of staying on the good path and fixing it, they put the car in reverse and backed up, turned on up the easy path instead. It almost feels like they tried to do stuff with it, and when it didn't go their way, instead of persevering, they went the other direction instead. You know, and the atmosphere of the bars is terrible. You can do a comedy routine. No one listens to you. You can stand up there and tell jokes. Not one of the people in the bar even listens to you. They talk amongst each other and they don't even pay attention. you, at least in The Sims 3, when you did this kind of stuff, you arranged gigs, and everybody, when you clicked on the stage and said start gig, the people sat down and were watching you, and they clapped and they laughed, and they didn't mingle with each other. In this game, they do. They do not pay attention to a damn thing you're doing. You could stand up and take out your pecker and dance around, and those people would just carry on mingling with each other and talking, as if you're not on that like stagey or at the microphone area doing your routine, whether it's playing a guitar or doing the comedy jokes or whatever. They just don't pay attention. So, um, yeah, too many niggly things. No open world. The game is fun, but it's 20% of what it should have been. 20% the game it should have been. And that's mainly because the open world is gone. I can't stress that enough. But anyway, I've rambled enough. That's enough. I'm going to stop now. It's about 4 out of 10. Rating, simply because without the open world, it's going to become old very fast. The graphics are very nonchalantly done. It looks like you're watching an episode of Mickey Mouse. It's really terrible. The backgrounds look very cheaply done. It looks like somebody who bought all, street theatre, who bought all their stuff, Tesco Value brand, to do all their backdrops and stuff, and did it on like bed sheets. It looks very poorly done. Neighborhoods are far too small. No new people show up. Nobody leaves. So you burn yourself out very, very quickly. I'm already bored with going out, because every time you go out you see the same 15 to 20 people all the time. I'm friends with them all, or I've met them all. So basically there's nobody else for my sim to meet. Half the people you've met you wouldn't want to meet, you wouldn't want to talk to or be friends with, except for if your job necessitates it. It's difficult to talk to people in an environment, even in a date, because before you know it, everyone's around and you're having a four-way conversation, and the only person you're not talking to is your freaking date, and then she pisses off in a bad mood because you're not talking to her, and you can't. It's really hard, because you click off the bubble for talking to a group conversation, and all of a sudden there'll be another one coming in and sliding down. You're like, what the heck? Because once you get into a group conversation, it's nearly impossible to get out of it. And the one person that leaves is the one person you don't want to leave. The only one there you actually want to talk to. So that's something that was done. It was a good in theory, but executed very, very poorly. Yeah. I'm going to get off here. Probably not going to play it for a while. Fart about and try the build mode. The build and buy mode. Buy mode is woeful. Don't like it. Just don't like it. Preferred Sims 3. And anyway, yep. I'll maybe give it time to see what the expansion packs are, if there's any big patches out to correct some of the things. But other than that, it's not going to be played that often. It's going to be a game put away for when I'm insanely bored with nothing else to do. Until then, I will stick to playing one of my Fallout games or something. Well, night night everybody, and take care.